Hi Professor and everyone. So this is Agile team. So today we're gonna talk about like Agile methodology, Scrum frameworks. Prior like talking about like the Scrum framework, we're gonna understand what is like software development life cycle. Software development cycle is gonna contain like a lot of phases like planning phases, analyze phases, like designing phases, implementation phases, testing phases, deployment and like maintenance phases. It's like we have like a lot of model like the waterfall model. They like the next phase cannot start until like the current phase finish. So what does it mean? It means that like we cannot like go back to the previous phase. So if we need to change something in the requirement, etc., it's gonna cost us a lot of money and time, and it's hard to do so. We're gonna got like Agile methodology and Scrum framework is gonna address this issue in the old methodologies. How can it do it? Okay, we're gonna like understand about like Agile methodology first. Agile methodology is gonna contain like 4 core values and like 12 principles. Okay, so the first value is like we're gonna focus on like individual and collaboration over process and tool, working software over comprehensive document, customer collaboration over like contract negotiation, responding to change over following a plan. Yeah, so how about like the principle? We have 12 principles, but like in common, so we're gonna like try to deliver like the valuable product to the customer continuously in a very short time. Yeah, so Scrum framework, so it's inherited from Agile methodology, and Scrum framework is like empirical process. So it means that we're gonna making decision based on our experience. Scrum framework is like a lightweight process and easy to understand, but it's hard to master. In Scrum framework, it have like the 3 main pillars. So it means like adaptation, inspection and currency, and we're gonna see that's like the 3 main pillars gonna like implement in the sprint events later. So in Scrum we have like 5 core values. The first is like the commitment. So it means like the Scrum team gonna commit that what they gonna do in the sprint. The second one is like focus, like the Scrum team gonna focus on like the sprint goal. And the third one is like openness, like the Scrum team each team member gonna open to share like their opinion, idea to the others. The fourth one is like we're gonna like respect the team members' idea. And the last one is like courage. We encourage them to take the challenge or like the new task, etc. Okay, so that's pretty much about like the Scrum definition and Scrum value. And now Kieran gonna talk to us more about like the sprint roles and sprint events.
I'm going to talk about Scrum roles and Scrum events actually in these videos, and I will be introducing some topics as well. First, let's start from Scrum roles. Basically, the Scrum team has 3 types of roles. One is the product owner, that's the product ownership role. The second is core working team, that's called the development team. And the third one is the Scrum Master. So there are the composition of the Scrum roles. So first of all, let's start from the product owner. Product owner basically is the person who ensures that the requirement of the product are well reflected in the product. He is the person who ensures that the best interests of the clients are reflected in the product. That's the role of the product owner. And for this responsibility, the product owner basically collects or lists out the requirements of the product. Those are called backlogs, and he sets priorities. That means which type of requirement is the is in highest ranking and which goes to the lowest. That's the task of the product owner as well. And the next is the product development team. Product development team consists of ideally 3 to 9 people, because if the product development team has less than 3 people, the team might have constraints of having less capacity, and if it has more than 10 people, then they might have constraints of coordination and facilitating within the team, and so on. So the ideal product development team has 3 to 9 number of people, and the product development team works in the form of predetermined set of times. Those are called the sprints. I'll make the introduction of the sprint later on, but let me talk shortly about the Scrum Master. There is one role called Scrum Master, whose role basically is to ensure that the facilitation and coordination among the team is well versed during the planning meeting, or in way of backlog management, or during the review meetings, or whatever. So the Scrum Master is the person whose role is to facilitate among the team. The team is cross-functional, so that is very, very necessary. And now I'm talking about Scrum events. There are 5 Scrum events. One is Scrum, the planning, and then Scrum review, daily Scrum, and Scrum retrospective. So the Scrum planning is a predetermined time-bound activities in which the product development team works for doing sorts of identifying what is to be done and what's the goal for the sprint period. That's how it works. So, thank you.
So, okay, thank you, Kiran. So I have a question. Like, suppose a client comes and he wants to add a new feature to the current sprint. So as a member of the development team, what should you do?
One thing we have to understand here is the outsider, any client or some outsider doesn't have direct access to the development team. So there's the role called the product owner, who is facilitating for this type of things. He acts as the pull up between the development team and the client. That's how it works.
Okay, thank you. That makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm handing over the rest of the things to Sandeep.
Thanks. Thanks, Kiran. So from here on, I will be discussing the remaining sprint events and sprint artifacts. So as we know, in sprint events we have 5 main parts, which are the sprint, the sprint planning meeting, and the sprint review, the sprint retrospective, and the daily Scrum, which is the heart of the sprint. So let's start with daily Scrum. Daily Scrum is a time-boxed event of 15 minutes where the presence of development team is must, and Scrum Master facilitates the meeting, and product owner would also be present there, which is his presence is optional. So in that event, what happens is that development team members has to basically describe about 3 main things, which are what he or she, each team member has to describe mainly 3 things: what he or she did yesterday, or what he or she is planning to do today, and what are the impediments they are basically facing in their work. So this is about daily Scrum. And sprint review takes place at the end of the sprint. When sprint completes, sprint review meeting takes place, which is a time boxed event of 4 hours for 1 month of sprint. So in that meeting, the members like development team is present there, stakeholders are present there, product owner is present there, and Scrum Master is present there. So the basic function or basic meaning of doing this meeting is that development team presents the demo of the working feature they developed during the sprint. So product owner basically identifies what has been done or what has not been done, right? So development team shows the running features to the stakeholders and to the product owner so that they could be verified. And then the development team could have feedback from the stakeholders. So this is for 4 hours of meeting. So yeah, this is all, and they can even discuss about what went really well in the sprint and what were the impediments they were facing. So then we have a sprint retrospective meeting, which is 3 hours of meeting for 1 month sprint. So in that meeting, the main aim to do that meeting is that development team could have an idea of what improvements they could bring in the next sprint so that they could have efficient working flow in the next sprint. So, because they will be talking about what were the impediments they were facing in the current sprint so that they could improve those things so that they should not have the same kind of problems in the next sprint. And they will talk about what went really well in the sprint. So stakeholders won't be present in this meeting, their presence is optional. So the development team will be there, product owner will be there, and Scrum Master will obviously facilitate the meeting. So yeah, these are the 3 remaining events of the sprint event. And now we'll talk about the sprint artifacts. So we have 4 sprint artifacts. First one is product backlog, and then we have sprint backlog, and then we have increment, and then we have transparency. Let's talk about product backlog. Product backlog is a complete list of features, user stories, requirements from the product owner or the stakeholders or the client they want to have by the end of the sprint as an end product. So product backlog is mainly with all the features we want to have by the end of the sprint, right? Then we have a sprint backlog. So for the sprint backlog, we'll choose the item from the product backlog items, and for the current sprint, so the development team will choose the items from the product backlog items. They are ready to commit, they are ready to say that they will be giving these features by the end of the sprint. They commit to their work, right? So for that thing, they will schedule themselves, they will make a list of tasks, how they are going to assess these things. And then yeah, this is all about the sprint backlog. Then we have an increment. Increment is the potentially shippable product we have ready by the end of the sprint. So increment is the sum total of all the product backlog items from this sprint plus from the previous sprints. So by the end of each sprint, we always have an increment, which is like sum total of all product backlog items, right? So yeah, that's all about the increment. Now if we talk about the transparency is the main pillar of the Scrum framework, because transparency means there should always be a transparency what work is being done within the development team so that they should be able to show what work is going on within the development team to the ones who are responsible for the outcome. So yeah, that's all about the Scrum events and Scrum artifacts.
Okay, thanks so much, Sandeep. I'm curious. So can we like integrate an unfully test user story into the increment by the end of the sprint?
Okay, so thank you for your question, Chi. It's a really interesting question. So I would say that if you want to add any feature or any user story in a sprint, you can only add if that is a fully tested, like we have acceptance criteria, so we have to follow that. If it is following all this acceptance criteria, and if it's following the definition of done, only then we could add. And if it's not fully tested, then we could really not add that.
Okay, it's quite clear. Thank you, Sandeep. Thank you, Sandeep, so much for your answer. So as you already know, like by using Scrum, so we have a lot of advantages. So we can like deliver like the valuable and quality products to the customer in very short time. And nowadays, like we have like more than like 90% software company all over the world, they like applying Scrum or try to apply Scrum. So I believe that this basic knowledge is very good for us to prepare for our career in the near future. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.